Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has started his tour of Europe. He's already in France, where he is scheduled to meet with President Emmanuel Macron. Ahmed will then proceed to Germany to attend the G20 meeting. CGTN's Girum Chala has more on his itinerary.
It's the first European trip for Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed since he took up office 6 months back. Invited by French President Emmanuel Macron, his first stop is in Paris. There, Abiy holds talks with President Macron on bilateral issues. On day 2 and day 3, Prime Minister Abiy will be in the German cities of Berlin and Frankfurt. In Berlin, he will attend the G20 summit alongside other African leaders. And speaking to Chancellor Angela Merkel will be one of his priorities there. Agendas on the table for the two include economic cooperation between Ethiopia and Germany. Similarly, the two leaders are expected to deliberate on ways of addressing illegal migration-related challenges. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's busy schedule also shows his planned meeting with the Ethiopian diaspora living in Europe. This meeting is set to begin in Frankfurt, bringing all together to discuss the diaspora's role in sustaining the reforms started in this country. Abiy has had similar successful talks with the Ethiopian diaspora residing in the United States cities of Washington, D.C., Los Angeles and Minneapolis, Minnesota. Girum Chala, CGTN, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
And Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has actually arrived in the French capital and is set to hold talks with his host Emmanuel Macron. Now let's get you the latest on this. I'm joined by CGTN's Elena Casas. She's live for us in Paris. Elena, so what's the significance of this visit to France by the Ethiopian Prime Minister exactly?
Well, certainly Emmanuel Macron wants to show his support for Abiy Ahmed's reforms in Ethiopia and indeed for his peace agreement with Eritrea. It's exactly the kind of African government that Macron wants to be moving closer towards, something that seems young and dynamic, and Macron is also trying to reorient his Africa policy much more towards English-speaking countries rather than towards former French colonies like Rwanda, for example, which have a difficult relationship with France. So Macron is planning a visit to Kenya and Ethiopia in the coming weeks, so they'll be talking about preparations for that, and as I say, Macron will be keen to show Ahmed his support for the reforms he's been doing at home.
Well, we do understand the leaders of these two countries are to give a briefing shortly. What should we expect from there?
Well, we know they've been talking about French investments in Ethiopia in fields of development and culture, using, for example, France's expertise in the field of heritage and conserving antiquities, with which the French think they might be able to help Ethiopia with those sorts of services. So we're expecting some announcements on trade and investment cooperation.
Elena Casas for us there in Paris. Thank you.